We are back, people. Your favorite, and I'm never lying when I say this, your favorite sports podcast from the airways, Rolling with Ramos, is back. I happen to be the one that holds the last name Ramos. I like to specifically thank my daddy for that one, Mike Ramos in heaven. I love you so much and I miss you. I hope that you guys missed me. It's been 2 weeks. Episode 96. Oh my God, we're 4 episodes. Four of them things. We are 4 episodes away from 100. It's crazy because when I started this journey, of course I thought one day I'd get to 100, 200. But it's also like, wow, we're really almost there. I'm going to do something different tonight. I'm going to
Okay.
introduce you first because, I
Yeah.
know you hear me, but it's not about me because he's a star.
I'm
Tristan,
not.
look at your face. I've
What's
missed you
going
so
on?
now.
I miss you too, man. I miss you too. I'm glad. I'm glad to be on. 4 more episodes to go. I'm to 100. It's an awesome milestone. I know it's a huge milestone for you. You've worked so hard to keep this thing going and doing what you're doing. So it's definitely going to be one for the books when we hit the.
Triple digit, triple cake. You know how I am. We gotta find something to do because we gotta celebrate this. But I is we, you say me. Episode 96. Let's move on. And as we all do this every week, we pay homage to somebody who wore that number. I'm glad you guys are buying into this. We're running out of we're gonna run out of jerseys, so we are gonna have to. You're watching is creative. Episode 96 this week. We pay homage to an American football defensive tackle who played his entire 11-year career with the Seattle Seahawks of the National Football League. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2012. He redefined and expanded the possibilities of how a large body interior lineman could be used. In 1992, he won the Defensive Player of the Year despite the team finishing 2-14. Rolling with Ramos, episode 96, the Cortez Kennedy, may he rest in peace, edition.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tristan, let's go, baby. It's MB. Okay, so granted, I couldn't put everything on the full list. We missed a couple of weeks. If you're looking for some Naomi Osaka news, we're going to talk about her next week. However, this is all dedicated to basketball and football. I mean, if you when have you ever seen a time we're in the playoffs in the end of September and we're at the start of the NFL season? It's shout out to the pandemic because you're a bum. But it's like Christmas.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, the NBA is normally done in June. Like we already got a champion, and everybody's already gearing up for next season. And we're here week one, well, going into week two of the NFL season, and we're not even at the NBA finals yet. We're still dealing with the conference finals. It's it's just crazy how that kind of worked in together, but it always gives you something to watch like every day. So
What are you watching? I know a lot of you are going to be, I know we're competing a little bit. But don't worry, we're going to get you out of here in
yeah,
another
Eastern
time to
Conference is
watch
going
this.
on. Yep.
But what are you going to watch? The first round, the first game, the Eastern Conference Finals, or are you going to watch Thursday Night Football? We never had this dilemma. Now we have this dilemma.
Well, this is actually the second game for the Eastern Conference.
Yes, second game.
Um, and I think I'm gonna be flipping. I know myself. I'm gonna be flipping between, but I'm probably gonna pay more attention to the Eastern Conference Finals, only because see if Boston can make this a 1-1 series or will Miami go up because Bam, to to steal game one from them. I just want to see how the Celtics bounce back.
We're going to get into into that a little bit later. But first thing we got to talk about in NBA, the first thing that came about that gave us a little bit of nostalgia back in the league doing some things, but it also caused a lot of controversy. Steve Nash, Hall of Fame guard Steve Nash, has signed a 4-year contract to become coach of the Brooklyn Nets, while Jack Vaughn, the interim coach who led the Nets through the Orlando bubble, will stay as Nash's top assistant and will be paid the highest of assistants in the NBA. That's courtesy of ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reporting. I am honored to have this opportunity with such a first-class organization and would like to thank Sean, Joe, and his wife, Clara, for having faith in my ability to lead this team forward, said Steve Nash. Coaching is something I know I want to pursue when the time was right, and I am humbled to be able to work with outstanding groups of players and staff we have here in Brooklyn. I am excited about the prospects of the team on the court as I am about moving to Brooklyn with my family and becoming impactful members of this community. Nash has never held a full-time coaching role in the NBA, but the fit in Brooklyn makes sense on several levels. Nash has previously had a residence in New York City, where he spent his off seasons during his playing career. He played with Sean Marks on the Phoenix Suns for 2 seasons, and he worked as a part-time assistant for the Golden State Warriors during Kevin Durant's 3 seasons there. As we all know, Kevin Durant is now a Brooklyn Net, so maybe him weighing in on Nash's coming in was probably part of the reason that he's there. Now, Tristan, people doing a double take this week when this hire was made. Steve Nash's rise to head coach is very premature, fairly quickly for someone with not that big of a level of experience. When you heard the news, what did you think? I just said a whole bunch of factors about what previously may have been significant enough for him to be in Brooklyn. Are they justifiable for this hire?
Well, so here's my thing with that. Like, I remember when the news broke, and I remember, well, when I first saw it, I thought it was fake. I didn't even think it was actually real until I kept seeing the news keep coming in. I'm like, oh, this is actual truth here. And the thing that kind of frustrates me with the situation is because Steve Nash is definitely one of my favorite people to watch. Him being with the Phoenix Suns. I think if the Dallas Mavericks did a better job with their team keeping Nash and Dirk together, I think they would have won a championship long before they did. Back in what was it 2010 2011 when they won, or 2009 I think, somewhere around there. But um, I think they would have won a championship before then. I know for a fact that he would not have been the head coach if Kevin Durant and Kyrie didn't sign off on it. More so Kevin Durant than Kyrie, for sure. The part that I have a problem with, and people always say like, oh, everybody's trying to bring race into everything now. Everybody's trying to bring race, but when things look the way they look, you have to acknowledge it. Now, like I said, I like Steve Nash just as much as the next person, and I'm sure he's a great basketball mind. But when I think about Sam Cassell being on the Clippers staff, been waiting to get a shot at becoming a head coach. When I think about how long it took Ty Lue to become a head coach, when I think about the fact that Patrick Ewing was an assistant coach for so long down in Orlando, and then he still had to go to college to become a head coach, not even getting an opportunity to be a head coach in the NBA. When I think about when I think about all these minority coaches that have to earn their spot for someone that wasn't even an assistant coach on Golden State's staff. He was a shooting specialist. You weren't even a part of the coaching circle in there as far as game planning and things like that. You were literally a specialist. That was literally a specific trainer coming in for practice for a specific skill to help develop the team. To all of a sudden becoming the Brooklyn Nets head coach, and then for the fact that not only are you becoming the head coach, but you are going to inherit arguably the second best player, in my opinion, second best player in the NBA in Kevin Durant, and then a top. you want to say top 15, top 12, top 10 player in Kyrie Irving and a very young Brooklyn squad that showed promise already inside of the bubble without those two superstars. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say it like this, but it's kind of like looking at the Steve Kerr treatment. Steve Kerr inherited a Golden State team that was already on the verge from all the work that Mark Jackson did. And let me still mention Mark Jackson, who is continuing to be blackballed apparently by the NBA, not getting these coaching jobs. So it just kind of rubs me wrong. As much as I like Steve Nash, to see that he took a road less he took a road that was easier to travel than than other aspiring head coaches to get this job.
I'm going to reiterate a lot of things that you just said because you spoke about them so eloquently. Also, if any of you are commenting, make sure you drop those comments down below. Make sure you talk to us, Tristan. I can't see him, so let me know. How
Sure.
Nash continues to navigate the minefield, Tristan, as you speak about, of appeasing stars while still coaching them, will be one of the most important storylines of his debut season. The Nets, with Durant and Irving presumably returning healthy and a number of trade assets in tow to seek out a third superstar, will be among the favorites to win the Eastern Conference next season. While Nash is a somewhat unusual hire, there is a notable precedent of a first time coach finding immediate success with a ready made contender. Nash worked under the guy you just mentioned, Steve Kerr, with the Warriors, who took over Golden State with no coaching experience and won a championship in his first season. The Nets went down a somewhat similar path in 2012, Tristan, a bet with different results when they hired Jason Kidd, fresh off of his retirement as a player, to be their head coach. Like Nash,
Right.
Kidd took over a veteran roster with championship aspirations. Brooklyn is obviously hoping for a different result this time around. Clearly, Brooklyn wanted to make a splash with this hire. Now they've done so. We've seen Nash as a player. We've seen the floor general. We've seen the passes, the flashiness. We've seen all that in Phoenix for so many years. That doesn't mean that you're going to be a great head coach. That doesn't mean that it's going to resonate in success on the court from a coaching standpoint. I mean, if anybody can give us that explanation about being in the front office or anywhere else on the coaching floor that being the one of the best players to do it didn't work, just ask Michael Jordan, who you always say should sell the team.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I still say that.
if we can predict the future, yes, if we could predict the future, Tristan, when what will make of Steve Nash? How long are we giving him to make this team? If he's giving it handed to him in a silver spoon, it should be done automatically, right?
It pretty much has to be done automatically, but what the challenge with this whole thing, what I'm looking at is Steve Nash is never going to get the full credit. And the reason why I say he's not going to get the full credit is because you have Kevin Durant and Kyrie. Like, we can be the head coach for that team if we have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. We could sit there on the sidelines and come up with some kind of game plan for them to being on the floor. So I don't know how much credit he's going to get with Brooklyn's success. If we watch the development of the other players on the team and how they develop under him, maybe that'd be different because now you're talking about like with Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr didn't really have to do anything
I can hardly see you.
Oh, 1 second. Is it better?
Now I can see you. Go ahead.
Okay. So Steve Kerr barely did anything with Steph Curry. Steph Curry came in bucket getter. When he was at Davidson, that's all he know. So like with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, you didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to develop them anyway because they came in, they were a bucket. That was their thing. That was their whole motion. Now Draymond Green, Livingston extending his career, what he did with Iguodala, how he formulated his offense. Now we started seeing the offensive mind and genius of Steve Kerr. That's when we started noticing what that was. That's going to be the same thing for Steve Nash. We won't know. We won't know exactly how he is as a coach until we look at what he does with the rest of the players. But Kyrie going to be Kyrie. Kevin Durant going to be Kevin Durant. Going to be constant bucket getters. That's what they're going to do. So We have to see how that's going to look and what that's going to look like. But on the flip side, if the Brooklyn Nets fumble the bag on this, if they struggle, he's getting all the blame. It's not going to be looked on Kevin Durant and Kyrie as much as it's going to be looked on Steve Nash. Because now you're going to have the people say that Steve Nash had no business being a head coach just yet.
Mm. Let's talk about a little bit of white privilege. You alluded a little bit to it, but let's talk about it because we focus so much on the NFL, and with everything that's going on in the NBA and the social injustice and everything like that, you tend to forget that this league is still 80% black with nobody of us coaching it. Let's talk a little bit of white privilege. Article in New York Times by Soap and Dev. NBA's head coaching diversity is under scrutiny as vacancies loom. Steve Nash, who is white, landed a head coaching job this week, despite his inexperience renewing discussions about how few are posts are filled by black people in a league where most players are black. Nash's hire brought back into focus the ongoing discussion about how few non white coaches are in the NBA, a league where 80% of the players are black. Nash, who has no coaching experience, even as an assistant, is white. Jack Vaughn, who had been the Nets' interim coach since March, is black and kept the team unexpectedly competitive. Unexpectedly, the big word, competitive in its 12 games in the NBA so called bubble in Florida despite losing players to injuries and coronavirus infections. Vaughn was asked to stay on team's lead assistant role. Before Vaughn was promoted to the interim head coaching role, he had been an assistant on the Nets since 2016 and had been one under Greg Popovich in San Antonio. He had also been a head coach for 2.5 seasons in Orlando, where he went just 58 and 158. Nash's resume, like we've been saying, Tristan, is biased, is based almost entirely on his playing career. Over nearly 2 decades, he became one of the greatest point guards ever, a two-time most valuable player and Hall of Famer, known for dishing flashy passes and being at the forefront of the game's evolution from one favoring centers in post play to one featuring mobility and three-pointers that fans see today. As of Thursday, which was then higher, 7 of the 30 NBA head coaches were people of color. 5 of them are black. One, James Borrego of the Charlotte Hornets, is Hispanic. And Eric Spoelstra, the coach of the Miami Heat, is of Filipino descent. 4 teams have coaching vacancies: Indiana, Philadelphia, Chicago, New Orleans. Nash's hire, first reported, immediately evoked passionate, disparate reactions. Many people bemoaned the hiring of another white coach, even someone as respected and accomplished as Nash, especially when organizations of all types have been under fire for a lack of diversity. Stephen A. Smith, we all know him very well, had
Mm.
so much to say. ESPN commentator had a lot to say, calling Nash's hiring white privilege. The NBA and its teams are committed to advancing diversity, including the representation of black executives and employees, says Mike Bass, an NBA spokesman who said this in a statement. He added, "We continue working hard across the board to interpret bias in our decision making of every level by continuing to strengthen processes, expanded programming, and increased accountability. And we expect to be judged over time on our process and the totality of our results." 3 black head coaches, Tristan, were dismissed from their jobs in the last year. David Fizdale of the Knicks was fired in December and replaced in July by Tom Thibodeau, who is white. Nate McMillan was fired from the Pacers in August of the 26th, weeks after signing an extension. And Alvin Gentry was let go by New Orleans on August 15th after the regular season ended. Fizdale praised Steve Nash while also mentioning the double standard for black assistant coaches. Lastly, I'm gonna leave you with this one. We don't get jobs like that are set and that good where you got 2 all-stars like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. We get jobs where you have to try to make something out of nothing. Then when you don't or aren't able to do it, they'll say, "Well, we gave him an opportunity." Tristan, that was Byron Scott. White privilege in the NBA. We don't talk about it much, but this brought it back to the forefront. One, how do you feel about it? And although we understand that we're in a time of heightened level of sensitivity when it comes to all things black and what we rightfully deserve in this country, no doubt about it. Should Steve Nash feel bad about receiving such a position? Should
I
we
mean,
make him I mean, he's been speaking about it. Should we make him feel that bad? Especially someone of his caliber. We see what him and Amari Stoudemire has done. He's very revered. Should he feel bad? How do you feel about white privilege in the NBA?
I mean, Steve Nash shouldn't feel bad. I'm not gonna. I don't think that's fair for me to say that Steve Nash should feel bad about getting a job and getting a head coaching job in the NBA. That's not for Steve Nash to have a regretful conscience about. Because it's not like Steve Nash was gonna when they called him and offered him a job. It's not like Steve Nash was gonna come to a podium and be like, "Sorry guys, I appreciate the offer, but I just don't feel it's fair to the minority
Give it
coaches
to a
that have
black
been
guy.
working to get." Yeah, like that's not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not gonna happen. So to say, "Oh, should Steve Nash feel bad?" No. Now, should the NBA probably try to recognize and see that something is wrong? Should Adam Silver probably look deeper into seeing what's going on? Yes, I do agree with that because there is a certain privilege that is taking place with the NBA. It's crazy because when you look at the NBA and how it's constructed, it's probably safe to say maybe what 80 to 85% of the players are of African American descent, and then you have another maybe 5-10% that are from overseas.
Mm.
So when you think about it, as far as like the pure white or the pure Caucasian to be politically correct in the NBA, it ain't that many. It's not that many at all. So for the African American, well, I wouldn't even say just African American, but just the minority coaches in general that are not even getting looked at, not even getting the chance, the opportunity to be looked at, it just doesn't seem fair. Like I know we're going to talk about the Clippers later, but like I said, with Ty Lue and Sam Cassell being there on the roster as assistant coaches, there were some people talking on some of the sports shows this week saying that their loss might hurt their chances of getting a head coaching job. Well, why? Why
And what
should
does
it?
that have to do with them?
Exactly, and
And
that's
then
what
it
I'm
also
saying.
makes Doc Rivers look even worse for
Right?
what he wasn't able to do.
If
But Doc Rivers is one of the best coaches in the NBA and has been longevity, an NBA champion, has had
yes,
longevity for years.
yes,
So that one
yes,
mistake, it's crazy. This is crazy what you're stumbling upon. So you're saying the more success you can, it doesn't matter how much success you have. That one mistake in the public eye messes it up totally for any looking upon. We don't. If they fire Doc Rivers today, will we know if he gets another job? And all those next to him that have supported him, just because they were on the roster of what has happened and transpired with the Clippers, we don't know if they will get a chance at all.
absolutely. If he loses his job as the Clippers head coach, we're not sure when we're going to see him again be a head coach in the NBA. You're absolutely correct. So but that's always been the plight of black people in general. That's always been the plight. Look at President Barack Obama. Okay, his personal life basically had to be flawless, pretty much. It literally had to. Could you imagine President Obama being the sitting president at the time and having some kind of scandal come out about him? He'd get right through the coals, and we probably wouldn't even see a chance for Senator Kamala Harris to possibly become the first black female VP. We probably wouldn't even see the opportunity for that to open up if it wasn't for Barack Obama to be flawless. We can even go as far, and I'm not trying to stretch so far into the political side of it because we're talking about sports, but it just
Yeah,
it's the logic
we're
that you
seeing
see in
how
a
it goes
general
hand in
aspect.
hand now, aren't
It really goes
unfortunately.
hand in hand. You can look at the former uh, uh, Senator Andrew Gillum from Florida. When his stuff came out about him and his sexuality and all that stuff, his whole political career was over. When we've seen other Caucasian political people in the political realm have all kinds of craziness come out about them, but they still keep riding the ship along. Like people of our color can't make a mistake. Do you think and even going back to sports, we're looking at Kerry Champion. Look at what Jamel Hill did. Jamel didn't do anything wrong. She just stood up for a cause that she believed in, and they almost tried to ruin her career. Thankfully, she was strong enough, had a strong enough mind, and was better than that to be able to still have her career flourish even better than where it did at ESPN. But the fact that it got to that point where her career got challenged because she stood up for something that she believed in, she wanted to be unapologetic about it. That's the problem that we have. So in the NBA, as forward thinking as the NBA seems to go, there's still a ways to go because we're looking at it right now. Us as black people are good enough to be the superstars and be the athletes on the court. But when it gets to the point where we want to be at the head chair, when we want to be the coach, we want to be the guy, then we're still a little shaky in that regard. There's so many coaches in the NBA that have gotten so many chances that are not deserving. So there's no reason why Coach Vaughn didn't shouldn't have gotten a chance to be a head coach for the Brooklyn Nets after what he did this season as an interim coach with no KD, no Kyrie. It's just a bunch of guys that just hustle, no stars, no superstars, and no stars. And look what he did with the Brooklyn Nets. And you mean to tell me y'all didn't even give a thought to make him the head coach instead of hiring somebody that hasn't done it? This guy showed you he could do it. He coached them into the playoff bubble. But you want to bring in a guy, albeit a Hall of Famer, but you want to bring in a guy with no kind of experience coaching? Come on.
The allurement of a star. It's crazy as we were talking about this and having the opportunity of having the ups and downs of a career. As black people, we don't have the opportunity of having the ups and downs of a career. David Aldridge tells me all the time, the great David Aldridge, one of my good mentors, tells me all the time. He says, we only get one shot. We cannot make mistakes. And even if we make mistakes, we have to correct them very well and very quickly. And it's crazy, Tristan, because as you're speaking, only one name comes to play. And we talked about him a lot last year when the Pittsburgh Steelers were going through their problems. No Big Ben. Everything was turned upside down in Pittsburgh. Everybody left, and then we see Mike Tomlin stay poised, almost get them to the playoffs, and they were still counting for his job. And then you're thinking, well, if Mike Tomlin's not on the sideline, which one of us is going to be on the sideline at all?
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
if Mike
don't
Tomlin's not there, what if Mike Tomlin's not in Pittsburgh? There is no Pittsburgh.
don't get me started about the NBA. Don't even I mean about the NFL. Don't even get me started because I'm
Well,
still just I'm gonna wait till we get to the NFL. I'm gonna wait till I so I can say my piece in regards to that.
well, if you're we're gonna move on since still in the NBA. Because
You
if
almost
there's
you
any
almost
time
got you
for
almost got me.
if there's any time for an audible, if you're still pumped up,
Oh, I will be.
the time is now because I miss them so. I miss laughing at the dark skinned Jamaican man turn white, turn pale. So guess what I got for you, Tristan? The playoffs are set, sir, as far as the conference finals. On one end of the Western Conference Finals, you got the LA Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets. On the other side, the Eastern Conference Finals, you have the Boston Celtics versus the Miami Heat. But let's go back a little bit because this is where it gets funny. This is where it gets great. Let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about the team the Lakers beat first. Let's talk about the Houston Rockets. We all know the issues of the Houston Rockets. They did not do well in that series against the Lakers. Russell Westbrook, Tristan, he's owed 41 million,
Whew.
44 million, and 47 million over 3 years. They're talking about combusting Houston as a whole. James Harden, where did you go? Where's the beard? I didn't see him. Houston, same problems. Same Western Conference semi exit. D'Antoni, small ball. How many years? 6, 7, 8 years. What's going on in Houston? Where will we see Houston? This is where it gets fun. I told you it's going to be fun.
Listen, I I watched that series, and you have no idea how badly I wanted Chris Paul and the Thunder to beat them in that series. You have no idea how bad I wanted Chris Paul to win that game 7 because it just would have been poetic justice for Chris Paul to beat them. Because when they did that trade for Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul, the swap, and they made this whole thing about Westbrook, the athleticism and prowess of Westbrook going with James Harden. What you gonna do with that? You know, Chris Paul, he gets hurt. We can't count on him. And they sent him to Oklahoma City Thunder to die career wise. Like that's they might not say it, but that's what they did. They
Look what
sent
he
Chris
did to
Paul
them.
to OKC to die, and look what he did. Literally, not even a game away. Not a game away. Minutes, minutes away from eliminating the very team that sent him out to pasture. And this is my thing. I've been saying it forever. Mike D'Antoni's system does not win you chips. It can't work. You cannot run bodies to the ground this way. It does not work like that. They thought he had the perfect weapon when he got Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook is just like the Energizer Bunny. But the problem with Russell Westbrook is because he's so much like an Energizer Bunny that I think at times he doesn't use his brain and think about the situation that's at hand before going forth and trying to just plow through the wall with the ball. I don't think he sits and takes time and look at the situation and see what he needs to do. The fact that you missed all the shots that you missed, I think he was like 30 something percent on the floor, 30 something percent from three, maybe 20 something percent from three. What are you supposed to do with that? And then James Harden, right on time, choke on it, right on time, right
Reggie
on time.
Miller.
It's just I know they fired D'Antoni. I get all that. But now, whoever the coach is going to be for Houston, all you're doing is inheriting a team that does not have enough pieces. That small ball was not going to work. It's not going to work in the West going into get a championship. It's great for regular season, but not for the championship because in the championship, everybody knows that's where the bigs come to shine because you need to be able to have a half court presence slowing the pace of the game down. You have to have that ability. And if you do not have that ability to slow the game down and make pace, you're not going to be successful going into the playoffs to get a championship. Every single championship team has some kind of big that was able to, at one point in time, slow the game down. That's why Spicy P got so popular over there in Toronto. Because even though they had Kawhi Leonard, you had a guy, a stretch big, that could slow the game down and give you a high court presence that you need to do in order to be successful. When you don't have that, you're going to struggle. So I don't know what they're going to do with because they got this contract with Russell. You still got this contract with Harden. I don't know what they're going to do because they're kind of strapped. They're really kind of strapped salary wise. I have no idea what they're going to do.
Now, some episodes back, way back then, but way back when, we were talking about a little trade known as Kevin Durant to the Golden State Warriors. And within that little trade of places where everybody thought that he could go, because let's be real, if he would have went anywhere else, it would have just been cute. We all know that he could have went anywhere else and he could have probably done what he's doing now. At the same time, this I need a championship quick stuff is where he rolled his car into. You got these conglomerates of these big teams. You can thank LeBron for that one. These conglomerates that are put together. You got to thank him for that one because joining forces, he gave the formula to everybody. But if we're looking at Oklahoma City off rip, I thought that he was not going to leave because of what they were able to do that last season. Let's be real. They were up 3-1 against Golden State. There is no Tristan Thompson on that 3-point line guarding Steph Curry in the finals for Cleveland if Oklahoma City does not do it first. They gave everybody the formula of how to do that. And we talk about this, how they lost. They lost trying to go back and retreat from what made them that team ball, that using your bigs. They went back from doing that to this heroistic basketball that they both, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, like to do. We also can talk about Scott Brooks and how he's not a coach of the rest of the guys. He's just a coach of the stars. So he allows that to happen. When you do heroistic type of stuff, it's hard to break that habit. Because let's be real, if Kevin Durant was still here, will we have that mindset of who's going to have the ball at the last minute? I made a joke to you a couple shows back when about Russell Westbrook just running the lane with no direction. Here we go, doing it again.
And you were right,
That
yeah.
heroistic basketball. And we love him for it. We love his effort. We love his energy. We love his tenacity. Guts for guts, glory for glory. We know Russell Westbrook is putting it out on the line every night for you. He's exhausting every part of his body because the will to win is that important to him. How much of a bad decision of comfortability was this decision to go to Houston? Because where could Russell Westbrook even go to fit? Did he do this thinking, oh, I've played with James Harden, maybe this works for me? Did he even give it enough thought? Because let's be real, a lot of can stars play with James Harden? Because a lot of stars come to Houston, and they're supposed to be the messiah of Houston. Carmelo Anthony was supposed to change the parameters in Houston. They have the same problems that they had when he got there, when he left. Was it a good decision for Russell Westbrook to come to Houston? And can Houston have two stars on their team?
Honestly, with Russell Westbrook, I don't know where he could play. And the reason why I say that is because of his style of play. If he doesn't make up in his mind to change his style of play, I don't know where else he could play except with D'Antoni. And if he was to play with D'Antoni, he has to be the focal point of that ball because that's his style. Is a slasher. That's all he knows to do. His shot is not consistent enough to say he can play in the the outer part of the key, playing outside, hitting 3 points, being a set shooter. That's not his game. He's a pure slasher. He has to get to the basket, try to draw fouls and things like that. That's his game. And with that game, that means he has to demand the ball. And D'Antoni's system, the thing about D'Antoni's system only features the star. It only features one ball dominant person, and everybody else is just there for a shot. So I don't know what I really don't. I really couldn't tell you what Westbrook could play because he has to alter his game, and you hate to see
He
it.
can't be made into a true point guard because that's not him.
That's it's not him. It's he. I think he has to change his way of thinking of how he plays. He's got to pick and choose when to put that turbo on and go for it, and then when to slow himself down and pace himself. And that's something that we've been talking about with Russell Westbrook forever. It's not that he's a bad player. You just got to slow yourself down sometimes to let the game come to you. I think a lot of times he forces the game to come to him. I think you gotta let the game come to you if you're Russell Westbrook. As far as James Harden, honestly, D'Antoni is the best coach for him because he's a ball dominant player. Only way it could work differently is if he yields to being that guy. Like the Chris Paul situation really could have worked because it seemed like he kind of yielded, or I don't know if Chris Paul willed it, but for Chris Paul to be the ball dominant person, and James Harden kind of played off the wing, and then they kind of went interchangeable, and you were able to do that because Chris Paul knew how to score from the outside. He had a shot, an outside shot. He knew he had a good, decent mid range. So Chris Paul knew how to play off ball. So they just interchanged like that.
So,
Russell Westbrook can't play off ball. He doesn't. He can't. He's not effective like that.
so you're saying a type of style that works for Houston where they can have another star and James Harden can find somebody that's complementary to him is if you can have somebody that can delegate but also has his own identity
Yes.
outside of waiting for somebody else to pass him the ball. If James Harden's not scoring 40, 50 shots a night and scoring all these points, Nobody else on that team is doing anything. And what you
Exactly.
find is a Russell Westbrook just trying to take the ball to find anything left for himself.
Exactly. Exactly.
If you're tuning in, you're tuned in to Rolling with Ramos, episode 96. Don't worry, if you missed this episode, we will pull it on our YouTube page. Please follow us on our YouTube page at Rolling with Ramos. This is episode 96 because we're quattro. If I could use my Ramos to my best advantage. We four of them things away from 100. Episode 96, the Cortez Kennedy Edition. I am the one that holds the last name Ramos. I like to specifically thank my daddy for that one, Mike Ramos in heaven. I love you and I miss you every day, no doubt about it. And the star, because I'm pointing at you. The star, because I'm nothing but I miss your technological skills because I'm messing up over here all the time. I miss everything about you. How what am I without you? Look at this conversation. I could not do this alone. Anyways, Christy is here, baby. I'm pissed off. So this is the part where I give my audible because I'm not. If I could take your word, because I'm pissed off because
All right.
quite frankly, James Harden, I'm sick of you. I've been sick of James Harden. You know, as much as I enjoy watching James Harden, I'm sick of him. You know why? Because we've spent all this time talking about Russell Westbrook. As soon as they lost, it was all about Russell Westbrook and how he could have did this, shoulda, coulda, woulda, all these things he did not do, how he's out there playing all types of this and that, just throwing the ball up. How is this series? How is this year, as in any years, the fault of somebody who just got there? He just got there. He ain't even took his shoes off for 5 minutes. He wasn't even able to stay in his house in Houston before he had to get lifted to go into a bubble. He has not even been there that long. James Harden has been there how long, Tristan? About 8 seasons of them things?
Yeah.
About
Just
eight
about
seasons.
as long as D'Antoni got in there. Hmm.
This is a guy that went from having no beard to a beard and has a nickname in the NBA. This is a guy who went from being the third option on a team with Russell Westbrook to being the main guy. The the character issues within James Harden, you start to get very contradictory. Because guess what? Every year he scores all these amazing points in the regular season. He is the regular season MVP in every MVP conversation. He does not waste a breath to talk about how he was snubbed or how he should have got this or how he should have got that. We enter the playoffs where legends are really made. You do not talk about hoisting an MVP in the finals. It's just like the last dance when you're watching Michael Jordan. Karl Malone had that little MVP trophy. I want the bigger one. James Harden is not that guy. And this announcement is to start paying attention to the guy that James Harden is not,
Talk that
that I am
talk.
sick of. He is not. Because guess what? He is not the same star. He is not put into the same bracket as every star in the NBA. Damian Lillard was dragged for staying in Portland. They said, why does he want to stay there? They're giving him too much money. He needs to go somewhere else. They're not winning. It can't be done. Blah, 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 blah. When LeBron and when the Lakers are not playing to the standard that they should have, LeBron, oh, he's demolished in the media. James Harden is talked about for 5 milliseconds, and he can go off to the club after losing the Western Conference Finals. The Western Conference Finals, when he chokes in, how you have 50% Klay Thompson and 50% Steph Curry, and you still lose that series. And next thing you know, we see you partying with the Kardashians. We talk about it for 2 seconds, and then we're done talking about James Harden. It is about time we start paying attention to James Harden. Even in this whole conversation, I'm still waiting for somebody, ESPN, Bleacher Report. I'm waiting for somebody to talk about this man and talk about how he is the most underrated superstar in the NBA, overrated superstar in the NBA. Let's talk about him. He is not reaching the levels of expectations. This is the same semi middle of the Western Conference exit that we see of the Houston Rockets every year. And again, we talking about D'Antoni. It's everybody else's fault, but the guy whose team it is. It's about time to start talking about James Harden. I'm sick of it. If you want to talk about Houston and we're not talking about James Harden, you're not having a conversation with me. Period. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I meant that.
You ain't gonna get no argument from me. I've been saying that forever. Am I gonna call him the most overrated? I got a case for a couple players in there, but you ain't. He in there though. He in that mix. He in the pot. He in the pot. Listen. I agree. I feel like at some point, even when things are going on with the other star, with the other person that's there, even if there's something going on, whatever, with them in the series, at some point, you got to make up in your mind, like, you know what, I got this. Don't don't worry about it. I got it, and take them. But he chokes, and you're right. It does happen. It always happens. Someone yields to someone else being at fault. Last year it was Chris Paul because they were like, well, if Chris Paul didn't get hurt, then they would be in there because Chris Paul got hurt. Okay, when Chris Paul was not there, what did James Harden do? When he wasn't on the floor, what did James Harden do? When Russell Westbrook was hurt in the bubble too. When Russell Westbrook wasn't on the floor, what did James Harden do? Because at the end of the day, we are looking at James Harden as one of the most prolific scorers ever, ever. The step back that he has, all that, the ball fake, him getting to the foul line almost at will. I mean, we look at all of that. So when we talk about that, what are we saying about James Harden in the playoffs when he can't lift his team to that next level? You can't go that extra mile because it's not like the team just loses. No, 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 no. A guy that is averaging almost 30 points a game, he'll score like 15, 20 points, 21 points. No, no, no. I need 40. I need the 40, 50-point James Harden in this moment. I need that guy. I need that guy that's looking at the basket like it's an ocean. I need that guy. Where is he? Where's he at?
Where does the pressure sink in when he gets to the playoffs? Because when you talk about the regular season, it seems like the rim is just open. It's just like he gets and he has and he can do whatever he wants.
Exactly.
But when it comes to the playoffs, where does that coldness come inside? Because we have not seen. Can you even name a playoff series where you said a playoff series past the first round that you can say, "Oh, James Harden took that
James
over"?
Harden did that. Hmm.
Can you even name that? And we're
No.
not having a conversation. When we're having this conversation about Houston, talking about firing D'Antoni, you're talking about combusting the whole team, blowing it all up. We're not even talking about if you're a star on the team, building around you, or who can be. That has not even been the conversation. We're
Right.
not even talking about you. We're talking the pieces around you. When Russell Westbrook went down in the bubble, it was like, oh shoot, what now? How are they going to be able to do without him? But where does that ice come in? It's not
Some
that
people
open in the playoff form.
some people have it, some people don't. And I just think he's one of the ones that doesn't. I don't think it's in there. I think he needs someone else to be that guy. Someone else to be the closer. He could get you in position where it could be close, but someone's got to finish it. Someone has to finish the game for him. That's really it's really where he at. He needs his own closer. He really does.
We're gonna move on. Let's start talking about James Harden. I want to see him in every media report, every newspaper, every online. He deserves. If he's a star, we must talk about him. He's combusting the whole thing. We got to talk about him. I'm sick of it. Speaking of not being able to close things out, Tristan. Speaking of not being able to close things out, the Lakers are going to play the Denver Nuggets. There will be no Battle of LA. That's not gonna happen. If you thought that was gonna happen for the other team that plays in the same arena in the Staples Center as the other team that it'll always be the Lakers in LA. If you thought that was gonna happen, Magic Johnson on Twitter saying they choked again. If you thought that was gonna happen, that's not gonna happen. Jamal Murray was balling. 40 points, 5 assists, 15 to 26 from field goal range. Jokic, 16 points, 22 rebounds on these players. He had 22, 13 assists. Murray outscored Paul George and Kawhi 40 to the 24 that they had combined, Tristan. Game sevens are they're no new thing to Murray and Jokic.
Not at all.
They do this on a regular. They love game sevens. This is where they shine.
Yep.
Patrick Beverly, get your Timbs ready, player. I agree with Dave. Meet him in Cancun. The Clippers, Tristan, they could not get it done. They were up 3-1. And ESPN is so petty. God rest his soul. When Kobe Bryant passed away, one of the stats they had on the Jalen Rose's when they had his name come on the screen was on team where Kobe scored 81 points. That was petty. Underneath Doc Rivers, only coach to lose 2 big leads of being up 3-1. And they had the years.
3.
Tristan, this has been the talk of the town for the past week or so. The Clippers lose. I'm not saying I'm skip, but you Shannon at this point. The Clippers could not get it done, Tristan. How do you feel about the Clippers?
Listen, Clippers going clip. Clippers going clip, man. As a Lakers fan, I took pure joy yesterday. I took pure joy all morning in regards to watching the demise of the Clippers. I took pure joy. Here's the thing. When this team was formed, Paul George, Kawhi, they all get in on it. They decide they come into the Clippers. One of the first videos I saw was Patrick Beverly and Lou Williams. Okay, Lemon Pepper Lou. Okay, at the casino talking about, oh, prices just went up. Prices just went up.
Patrick Beverly, shut up.
The whole summer, mind you, because you and we're Lakers fans. The whole summer, I'm hearing all the talk. LeBron ain't getting the chip. The Lakers ain't getting the chip. We got the best defensive team in the NBA. We got the top two, the top two-way players in the NBA. We got the reigning defending Finals MVP in Kawhi. Kawhi is the best player in the NBA. This is all I'm hearing. This is all I'm hearing.
So LeBron's not there.
Listen, all I said was, let's just wait and see how everything comes together. That's all I ever said. I left it alone. Then we get to the playoffs. And the entire playoff bubble for the Clippers are all of them taking days off, acting like it literally looked like they were just looking ahead to the Western Conference Finals. They weren't even paying attention to the teams that they had to face in the bubble, except for the Lakers. All their focus, all their goal was to get to the Western Conference Finals to beat LeBron. And because of that, y'all didn't pay attention to anybody else. Y'all didn't pay attention to anybody else. Y'all try to dog Dame. Y'all mock Dame when he missed the free throw shots. Where were you at, Patrick? Where were you at, Patrick Beverly? Where were you at, Patrick Beverly? Where were you at? Where were you at, Patrick Beverly? Where were you at? Now let me get to the point where I'm upset as a fan. Let me get to that point. Let me get to the point where I'm upset. I'm the one that's always going to say that Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. I'm going to always say that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. I'm also going to say that after him is Kobe Bryant. That's me. You can feel how you want to feel.
How can you skip
but Kobe Bryant for me. But the disrespect that LeBron James has gotten this entire year,
17 seasons of them things.
The disrespect that he's gotten, listen to me. The two stars, the two superstars on your team were 0 for 11 in the fourth quarter. 0 for 11. Your two stars, your two superstars, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, were 0 for 11. Paul George, who was supposed to be the LeBron James stopper, Kawhi supposed to be the best player in the world, were 0 for 11. I don't know if I'm more shocked at the fact that they didn't score any points, or am I more shocked at the fact that they only took 11 shots in the fourth quarter of a Game 7 to get to the Western Conference Finals. Your two superstars combined only took 11 shots in 15 minutes? Only took 11 shots? When LeBron always comes in for the fourth quarter in his 17th year, has been clutch defensively and offensively, mind you, in the playoff bubble.
Yeah.
But the LeBron James stopper and the quote unquote best player in the world went 0 for 11. Took 11 shots in the fourth quarter. 11! In a winner go home game. You took 11 shots. You combined for your two superstars combined for the game scored 21 points. 21 points. Jamal Murray scored 40 by himself. By himself. And your two superstars, the top 10, top 5, 10 players in the NBA, as they call it, 21 points in one game. In an elimination game, they should never, ever live that down. I don't want to hear no one talk about LeBron not being the best player in the world until he retires. I don't want to hear nothing else about it. Until the man says he's done playing basketball, LeBron James is the best player in the world. I don't want to hear nothing else.
Paul George, Tristan. Paul George. We've always felt this is not a championship or bust year for us. We can only get better. The longer we stay together, the more we are around each other. I will say this. This Clippers team was already looking like they were trying to figure out who the hell they were together. And then you have a pandemic, you get in the bubble. You can't. Some teams went to the bubble to make themselves. That's why we had Portland. Some teams went there to say, hey, look, I know what you saw before this. We got a second chance. We in this thing. Some of these teams, as you have just recalled, came in a little bit entitled. The Clippers were one of them. Playoff P. When I think of LaMarcus Aldridge and when he went to San Antonio,
right.
We quickly found out that he was not the complimentary star that everybody thought that he was.
Right.
We're quickly finding that out about Paul George because it's been a long time coming since Indiana. Not to mention, Tristan, we thought so heavily that he went from one coast to another. He went from one country to another. Let's be real. It's not like Kawhi went there with a bunch of nobodies.
No.
It's Kawhi. He did not go to Toronto. To look at what Toronto was able to do this year alone.
Yes.
It's not like they were actually fine without them.
Yes.
Him, they just got an extra boost with him being there.
Yes.
But people were so quick to say, "Oh, that's going to automatically translate to the Clippers." As soon as he signed on the dotted line, oh, this is championship right here. It wasn't even about LeBron being in LA anymore. They were ready to change the colors in the Staples Center without reminding themselves who it was first.
For Paul George to say that we didn't look at this as a championship or bust season is so ignorant. It's so ignorant. Y'all basically threw the parade before the season started. Y'all threw the parade. Paul George, you were interviewed. You were interviewed before the season started. You said, well, you got two of the best two-way players in the game. You got Patrick Beverly, defensive player as a point guard. Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, everybody. You got a bunch of dogs on your team. That was Paul George quote. You got a bunch of dogs on this team. Who gonna see us? That was your quote. That was your quote. And you came up so small. And I kept saying this about Paul George. I kept saying this. People kept saying, nah, Paul George is coming. He's young. He's coming here on his way. No. He was a big fish in a little pond. It's the same thing with Dwight Howard in Orlando. It was the same thing with Paul George in Indiana. Big fish, little pond. But when you put the lights on him, can he do what he's supposed to do? And he cannot. And I for the life of me, this is going to be one. If they don't shake this, if they don't figure out how to get this together, this is going to be one of the greatest heists that OKC could have ever done in history. Because you basically gave up 4 years worth of draft picks to OKC for one guy that didn't do anything for you in this playoff. For one person, you gave the first round. You gave first of all, you gave a budding guard to OKC, and you gave him first round pick. You gave them first round picks for next year, first round picks for 2022, first round picks for 2023, and first round picks for
I would
2024
not be
for one
surprised
person.
if OKC built around Chris Paul, and look what's going to happen after the
They,
season.
they're building around Chris. They're building around Chris Paul. And they're building around for the young. His name just escapes me right now. If I can look it up real fast, I promise you I'll get it. They're building it around the kid that the Clippers traded them to, because he's coming. So you did all that for a guy that y'all thought was supposed to be playoff P, and he ended up being pandemic P.
They had to talk about him like you know how you got to pump up a little kid in order for him to score what he did in what was that game 3 or 4. They had to talk about him like he was garbage in order for him to get into his head that he had to show up. I'm My thing is Patrick Beverly. You remember back in the day where you had certain defensive guys that was all about defense. You knew that when it came down to it, that's what they're known for. And you were fine that they were not going to score all these crazy points. Dennis Rodman is a prime example of doing your damn job and doing it right. Being the screw up guy, being the one that messes things up, being the hyper guy, getting the rebounds. Every now and then he might get a 6, 7, 8 points in the game, but he coming out there about 28 rebounds. They have a stat of all the rebounds he had against every team, and it's crazy. When you look at guys like Amari Stoudemire, Carlos Boozer, if we're saying the glove, you're saying guys that you know that, well, not the glove per se, but you're saying guys that you know, if anything, we need you for defense. But guys that you're afraid of, who the hell is afraid? When did we start being afraid of Patrick Beverly? When did we start putting him on this pedestal? Because what he's looking like is he's looking like Josh Norman. The more he talks, the more he turns it over and messes it all up for everybody. And now you're going back and forth with Odell Beckham Jr. You're supposed to be playing this game. You're supposed to be one of the best defensive players in the league. What are you doing? When the hell did we put Patrick Beverly? Did the Clippers do that? When the hell did we put him? He gets one stop of LeBron in the regular season. Next thing you know, he's the LeBron stopper. When the hell did we put him on this pedestal? Because he's not deserving of it. He needs to just be quiet. Because the more he talks, the more he messes things up.
Patrick Beverly is a self-made guy because of that mouth, and because he's one of the better defending guards in the NBA. I'm not going to discredit him on that. He's one of the
We
better
can't
defending
discredit
point
him.
guards
Come on.
in the NBA. But like I said again, when they got Kawhi and when they got Paul George, him, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, all of them, they all said the same thing. They all looked at it like, "Oh, it's a wrap. It's over. We got this. It's us. We champ. We the champ." They crowned themselves before the season started, and all I kept saying, I said, "Let's just wait and see what this looks like." You guys blew a 3-1 lead, and let me not discredit the Nuggets, because
No.
Joker, Murray, them cats, they were balling, and they've been balling, especially Murray. Murray been balling. Okay, Bubble Murray is like that. Okay, so I'm not going to
He's
discredit the
already
Nuggets.
telling the Lakers they got to worry about us too.
Listen, but here's the difference between the Clippers and the Lakers. When you're used to winning, when you're used to being a champion. Now, granted, I
Not the
understand that
champion.
I understand that the Lakers haven't been in a championship in a decade. I get all that. I get all that. But when you're in the building in Staples and you see the banners up there, you know where you come from. So you might have strayed away for a little while, but you know where you come from. You know where you're from. And then when you have your leader of your team is a champion, you're not going to take any team lightly. You know better. But when you ain't never been there before,
You don't know what to expect.
You don't know how to act because you ain't never been in the spotlight before.
This is
You've always been little. You've always been little brother. You ain't never been big brother. You ain't never been the star of LA. So now when the spotlight was bright, you ain't know how to handle it. But LeBron been here. LeBron know what this is. I promise you, LeBron is not going to look at the Nuggets the way the Clippers did. I promise you, he's looking at them like the Joker is no joke. Jokic is no joke. Murray is no joke. I know he talking to AD, he talking to McGee, he talking to Dwight, he talking to all his bigs to say, hey, we got to do something about Joker. He looking at Rondo, he looking at Danny Green, he looking at all. We got to make sure we do something about Jamal Murray. We got to make sure we pay attention to those cats and figure out what to do with these guys. That's what a champion does. Understand this, all this disrespect. Let me say this real quick in regards to LeBron. For everybody that's going to watch this on YouTube, for everybody that's going to listen to this on our podcast, Rolling with Ramos podcast on all podcast streams, for everybody that's going to be listening to this or watching this, let me tell y'all something about LeBron James, all this disrespect. Oh, in the last decade, whether it's been in the East or in the West, well, we're going to find out how it's going to be in the West. We're going to find out. But so far, in the last decade, every finals has had LeBron James' face in it. The one time that LeBron was not in the finals, win or lose, LeBron James' face has been there. And the only time his face has not been in the finals in the last decade was last year, and he didn't even finish the season because he got hurt.
So it was on him
So,
himself.
if he gets out of the Western Conference Finals and gets to the finals, that means we have to say, barring injury, in this decade, 10 years, barring injury, if he gets to the finals, LeBron's always a guaranteed ticket. You want a LeBron James team? A guaranteed ticket to at least get there to the finals. If you're on his team, it's a guaranteed ticket. And the fact that Paul George had an opportunity to be on a squad to get to the finals, and he didn't want to take it because he felt he could beat LeBron. He felt he
Why
could take
everybody want to
LeBron.
go to LA? I remember that
So
one.
all this disrespect on LeBron James, y'all gotta cut all that noise because
Why everybody want to go to LA?
listen, every superstar that y'all said was better than LeBron have all fallen short. When there was a time when y'all y'all were trying to put James Harden up there saying he was the best. Y'all want to try and put Kawhi up there. Y'all try to put Giannis up there. I don't want to hear none of that. LeBron, until the day he retires, LeBron James is the best player in basketball.
Let's come back to Kawhi Leonard because you talk about something very interesting about somebody that has been there. If you've been there, you're not worried. Kawhi Leonard has been there. We've seen what he's done. We've seen what he did in San Antonio. We've seen what he was able to do by himself in Toronto. A lot of people saying a little bit silver spoonish because he's never faced any turmoil. This is the first blemish on his non-championship career. Where does that place him?
I mean, he's
Where
still
does that
young.
place a comeback for
He's
him?
still young. He's still young. So it's a bad blemish. It's bad, but he can recover. He still has a long career, Brian. If his body doesn't quit on him, he still has a long career. He can recover from this. He can recover from it because him getting that championship in Toronto is what's going to give him a little more grace to recover from it. For him to do what he did in Toronto. But this is bad. I mean, we look at this the way we look at the OKC team that had James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant when they blew that 3-1 lead against Golden State. We gonna look at it that kind of bad. It's that kind of bad.
3-1 leads, 28-3.
Is that kind of bad? It might actually be a little worse because at least we saw Golden State. We're like, man, Steph Curry a dog, Clay a dog. I mean, we respect the Nuggets, but no one looked at the Nuggets beating that team.
Once
Not that
that
team.
momentum kept rolling, it was over.
I said, if they lose game 6, if the Clippers lose game 6, they're losing the series because the Nuggets know how to win in game 7. I don't know what it is about game 7 because they had a couple game 7s in last year's playoffs.
They
I
love
don't
game
know.
seven.
I don't know what it is with Game Sevens, but if the Clippers lose Game 6, they're going to lose Game 7, and that's why for me for the Western Conference Finals, I'm already saying that I'm saying Lakers in 5. I'm already saying, and that's because I'm just giving enough respect that the Nuggets will get one game, but I'm saying Lakers in 5.
We got to close up on the Western Conference, but I'm gonna leave you with this. You said the Clippers didn't show up, and they waited to get to here to underestimate, and they couldn't muster it up. I want to see how you feel about this stat. Up 3-1, the Clippers retired in the fourth quarter of Game 7. They struggled to play in struts, some of the players. They couldn't play in stints longer than 3 minutes. And some of them asked for breathers in the fourth quarter per the undefeated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Them young boys was running them down.
And you know what? And you know what I look at when I hear that?
Someone
That's
said they
when
can't breathe.
that's when you got to look at Doc Rivers. That's when you got to look at Doc Rivers and the coach. How in the world is your team that out of shape that they get gassed like that in the fourth quarter? How? Y'all had 3 months off. You had 3 months off, and again, it goes back to what I said. It goes back to what I said about LeBron. You know what we saw in the 3 months off because of the pandemic. You know what we saw LeBron doing?
Working out
Working out,
in his house.
working out.
We didn't even see Taco Tuesday.
We didn't even know if we were going to have the NBA season, but he was working out as if it was going to come to pass. But
Let's
your
hope.
guys are gassed in the fourth quarter.
Gas.
Gassed. That goes to coaching. That's coaching. Like when you have players that are saying they need breathers, they need minutes to rest in a game 7, win or go home. This is it for your chance to get to a conference finals, and they're telling you they're gassed. That's coaching.
I can
That's
only
what.
imagine
That's the
how
black.
hard.
I'm
What you
sorry. Go
say?
ahead.
No,
Go
no.
ahead.
What you say?
No, I
No.
was
I
saying.
was just gonna say I can only imagine how gassed they would have been playing in the Mile High if this was Game 7 in Denver, dealing with that
You guys
loss
weren't. You guys were in
of
Orlando.
0-2.
Yes. You guys were in Orlando. So if this was Game 7 in Denver, what were you going to do? You might have lost by 30, 40 points. It's unbelievable. But it goes to coaching. That part is the black eye for Doc Rivers. Everything else is on the players, but that is specifically on Doc Rivers. Because how is it that your team wasn't urgent enough, didn't have enough energy to understand the magnitude of the situation to tell you that you were gassed? Come on now.
The Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat, Tristan, make up the Eastern Conference Finals. If we go back to the people that they just beat, most importantly, the Boston side of everything, Milwaukee. He's not Pippen looking for Jordan. And Tetsuo Kawampo is Shaq looking for Kobe. In this loss, we've seen Giannis being brought to the forefront so far before. We've seen him as this MVP caliber guy. He can do no wrong. Milwaukee goes where he goes. Now we see him in a bubble where we're looking at he needs some help. I would have liked to see Devin Booker go there. I know that's not going to happen because they
It's
just
not
got
going to
dropped. But at the same time, a lot of Giannis is speaking to the front office. They're trying to figure out and negotiate. But there's a lot of talks about Giannis and the type of caliber player that he is. Does he deserve a sidekick? Does he need a sidekick? Or is he not that star that everybody thought he was? Because that is the
He ha-
conversation now.
he has a sidekick. He has Chris Middleton. What we have to come to grips with is that he might not be the guy.
Ooh. So you
That's
think
what
it's
we got to come
Brown?
to grips with. Because the reason why I say that is because they know what to do with you. They know how to end your game. Your game is limited as a freak of nature that you are. Your game's limited. If you can't penetrate into the paint and then make a decision to either kick it out or just get to the basket and possibly get to the foul. If you can't do that, you're you have nothing else. Your mid range has not improved. Your 3 point shooting has not improved. You have no you have no. And I'm looking at Cravante. Shout out first of all, shout out to everyone that's been
That's a
commenting in the
plateau.
comments. Shout out to everybody commenting. I see Cravante, what's up, man, saying that Chris Middleton ain't it. But listen, but Chris Middleton is his sidekick. We have to come to grips with the fact that Giannis is not the guy to
How
close the games out. He's not the guy. They need somebody that is a legit. He needs another star that is a closer to close the games for him. He can keep you in the game, but he ain't gonna finish the game. His skills are not enough. They're too limited to finish it off. Because once he runs into a team that understands that you just gotta crowd the paint. You ain't even gotta fully stop him, but you just gotta crowd him enough to make him hesitate on what to do. Then you neutralize him because his mid range has not improved, his 3 point shooting has not improved. So they know you go 15 feet out from the basket, he ain't got nothing for you. He ain't got nothing for you. So they need to bring in a star that's going to be a closer. I just don't think he's even going to stay in Milwaukee. That's my personal.
how ironic is that okay, how ironic is that he's trying to be a quintessential real big man in a league that has no big man anymore. So we're telling this big man who likes to play in the paint that you gotta learn how to have a mid-range shot. You gotta learn how to shoot from the outside because the rest of these 7 footers know how to shoot from the outside now.
Exactly, exactly. And so,
So he
you know,
so he doesn't so
I keep hearing that. I keep hearing that he's working on it. He's trying to get it together, and I believe it. I believe he's trying to work on it. But he might just can't. He might not be able to do it. The same thing with Ben Simmons. Everybody talk about Ben Simmons. He been working on trying to get his outside shot. He been talking to a sports psychiatrist to get the. If he ain't got it, he just ain't got it. If he ain't got it, he just ain't got it. Some people can work their way into having it. Some people naturally got it. And then we have to come to a reality that some people just ain't got it. And Giannis just might not be able to have that kind of shot. And because of that, you need to have another star. So in that regard, yes, Pravante, I agree with you. Middleton ain't it because Middleton isn't the star that Giannis needs. Giannis needs a star that can close the game, that can create their own shot and close the game for Milwaukee to have a chance at winning a title.
so where is it at? If he's not in Milwaukee, where is he? It's so because it's so confusing to have all these people that have these games that we don't even know if we don't even know where they can go to mesh because you're looking at a league where everybody got somebody now. Everybody has some type of identity to a degree.
If he
He
was to
has to
go,
start all over.
well, you know the rumor is talking about Golden State. Now, if he was to go to Golden State, I'm not watching basketball because that's just I don't even know what you do with
Well, you
that.
talk about him like you talk about Kevin Durant.
Yes, yes, Giannis will get the same work that I give Kevin Durant about going to Golden State. You're absolutely correct. It won't be as vitriol. It won't be as vitriol, and the only reason why
Oh, I lost you. Come back to me. Oh, wherever you are, Tristan, figure it out. Oh, there you go.
okay, we're back. We're back. I
Okay.
I I it won't be as vitriol because I can't look at the fact that Kevin Durant went 3-1 and lost.
Oh, come on.
I just
Oh, anyways, let's move
three
on
to
to the
one,
Miami. The,
3-1. I'm just saying. Hey,
I'm so sick of this.
hey,
Where was he gonna go? He wouldn't have to do
anywhere,
nothing.
anywhere. It's Kevin Durant.
To lose. To continue for y'all to drag this man about being who he is and not getting a championship. You wanted
It,
him to get it now. You wanted him to have it. He went where he could have gone to get it, and he got it fast. A 73-win team that could not seal the deal sealed it with him.
I said
Come
what I said.
on.
I said what I said.
I'm confused. You want
I
these
said
guys
what
to
I
win
said.
chips and they go to get it.
I
Like I
said
said, if you want the formula about these big threes, just thank your man. Thank LeBron.
weakest move by a
Give it to him.
superstar ever. I'll say it till the day I die.
Ugh.
I promise you. And
Speaking of superstars, let's move on because me and you can do this for how many hours?
you're
But
absolutely right.
speaking of superstars, it seems like Jimmy Butler finally is getting what he wants.
Finally,
It took some time. It took Minnesota. It took Carl Anthony Towns and putting him down to the ground. It took the process and still trying to find a process where you could have gave them something in that process. We thought you were going to be the guy. That didn't happen in Philly. Looks like you went to what the. It will always be Wade County. I'm sorry, Jimmy Butler. I know. We know what you think it is. We know what Dwayne Wade has told you repeatedly. We know what you want it to be. But
it's
he's
a,
finally
it's Wake County.
happy. He's finally happy. They're winning in Miami. He's had a long road, JUCO. His mother being homeless at 13. You know his was 73 in the draft. We know everything. He is in the Eastern Conference Finals. Jimmy Butler, and he's playing good basketball. Miami's playing good basketball. What do we make of Miami? We're not going to talk about the matchups because we're gonna let them do their thing. But how do we feel about Miami? I can't even say the emergence of Jimmy Butler. I'm just happy he's damn happy. Long time.
I mean, I've always been a fan of Pat Riley. Um, always been a fan of Pat Riley. I love watching Miami play basketball. It's a beautiful thing. The way we had looked at how Golden State played basketball, I love watching Miami even more. The team aspect, the development of the players. It's not like they just put a whole bunch of stars together. They went, drafted, and developed these guys, man. I mean, going Tyler Hero, walking bucket. He was doing that in Kentucky. When he was in the summer game, he was killing them. So I'm glad to see that it transferred over. Um, Bam, Bam is a dog. The improvement in his game has been unbelievable. Watching Bam play, I think Iguodala coming off the bench is a big help for them defensively, specifically. Chris Dunn out there. I mean, they look good. Dragic out there looking amazing. It's just great team basketball, and that team is what I call a bunch of dogs. When Paul George was saying the Clippers got a bunch of dogs, no, Miami got a bunch of dogs, and it fits right into the mold of
You're
Jimmy
not feeling
Butler
Paul George, are you?
at all, not at all. So not at
You
all,
had to go
and
back and get him to bring him here.
absolutely, absolutely. He needs to be humbled, and I hope this humbles him. But I love their attitude. I love their swagger. Um, I'm looking at the score right now. It's not that favorable for Miami, but right now. But I love the way they play basketball. For them to get this far, and through the teams that they beat, man, mad respects to the whole Miami Heat organization and to Jimmy and all those players and Spoelstra. Just mad props because I don't think people really we knew Miami was going to be good. I didn't think they were looking at Eastern Conference Finals good.
Let's go on to the NFL, shall we? Dun 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 dun. It's back. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, you're tuning in to episode 96. This is Rolling with Ramos. It's Tristan. This is Kel. I'm gonna keep it sweet. Dad in heaven, I love you every day. Let's go. Social injustice, because that's what we got to start with the NFL. The Chiefs lined up along, because that was the Chiefs in Houston, Texas, was the first game we saw. The Chiefs lined up along the goal line about 30 minutes before kickoff and watched Alicia Keys perform Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is often considered the Black National Anthem in a video designed to address racial inequality. The Texans had already left the field when the demonstration occurred. They remained there until R&B duo Chloe Times Halle finished a virtual performance of the Star Spangled Banner, then ran onto the field to a chorus of boos from the fans. Some fans were still booing when the teams met at midfield and shook hands. The teams then I'm trying to tell y'all, man, NFL fans are not anybody else's fans, okay? The teams then stood together in a line that stretched from one end zone to the other for a moment of silence before the coin toss. If y'all linked up for breast cancer, they're going to clap. If y'all link up for autism, If you link up for autism, they're going to clap. If you link up to honor veterans, they're going to clap. This was the kindest, most thoughtful, sweetest way to protest or demonstrate, and people still booed. That was Ryan Clark on racism in America. How do we feel about racism in America from an NFL? From an NFL, we all know what they do anyway, but from an NFL standpoint, how disgusted are you by that? Are you thinking?
In regards to, I just don't understand what you want the NFL to do. And I'm talking about for the fans. I don't know what you're looking for from them. For you to boo for them locking in arms in unity, for them locking in arms for equality, for peace. I don't understand. And Ryan Clark couldn't have said it any better. If they locked arms for breast cancer awareness or cancer awareness in general, y'all would give a standing ovation. For autism, standing ovation. For the military, standing ovation. But for us to say that Black Lives Matter, some of them probably could have been standing to say all lives matter. But just for the general equality of America, Yabu. For them to talk about the equality and the injustices of black people, minorities in America, you are saying we just want y'all to play football. We just want y'all to stick to sports. That's unbelievable to me. That's unbelievable to me. And it's just a reminder of how far we are as a society before actual equality takes place for people that look like you and I. It really shows how far we really are. And the fact that the two richest quarterbacks in NFL history are black. And they stood there. Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL. And that's your guy, Kansas City. That's your guy. And they stood there and y'all booed him. Y'all booed the guy that got y'all a Super Bowl. Y'all Super Bowl MVP. Your league MVP. Y'all booed him. I don't. It really just shows how far we still are. It really, really shows how far we still are.
You know, it's funny. We've had this conversation about the difference of for the culture, the difference of if Patrick Mahomes won versus if Lamar Jackson won. That would not have been done in Baltimore.
No, not at all. Baltimore would Lamar would have got a standing ovation in Baltimore. Well,
If you
absolutely
like
got
more
started in
Black
what?
Magic, Tristan, that was inexcusable.
Yeah,
Should not have happened.
yeah,
But it also brings to the point of what's been able to transpire in the NFL for years, and that change is not wanted by everybody. It's
right.
just now if these owners or somebody else who's because I'm pretty sure they're still thinking the same way, but now it will hurt the NFL more than it will help them. You
Absolutely.
blackballed the main guy that you could have been the front runner of this. Colin Kaepernick gave the was basically the formula for all of this. You blackballed him, but now because you didn't want to have anything to do with social injustice because you were afraid of it breaking the shield, everything to protect the shield. You're afraid of breaking the brand. But guess what? If you're against it now, it will break every part of the brand you want to keep because now the hashtags mean something. Now it's prevalent. Now you want to be a part of Black Lives Matter and you want to join the focus. Change is not what everybody wants. But if you like more Black Magic, Tristan, most in a season opener in NFL history, there were 10 black starting QBs in week one. 10 of them. Cam Newton in the Patriots land. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Teddy Bridgewater, Dak Prescott, Tyrod Taylor, Deshaun Watson, Dwayne Haskins, Kyler Murray. Congratulations. Texans lose to the Chiefs 20-34. Deshaun Watson, prior to this game, Houston's QB, he enjoyed signing the 4 year, $160 million contract. That's the least you could do for him after you gave cigarettes away for DeAndre Hopkins. Anyways, making him number 2 on the list of the highest salaries in the NFL. Number 1 is Patrick Mahomes at $45 million. He is $39 million. Deshaun Watson. Russell Wilson is $35 million. Number 4 is Ben Roethlisberger at $34 million. And tied for 5, Jared Goff. In that contract with Aaron Rodgers, they both have $33.5 million at number 5. Anyways, it's okay. They won. Oh, okay. Anyways, they lose 34-20. What's that score? How much do they miss DeAndre Hopkins? They miss him bad, man. They miss him bad. The Chiefs began their defense of the first championship in 50 years by beating the Houston Texans 34-20. Thursday night before a socially distanced crowd of about 17,000 due to the coronavirus pandemic. Deshaun Watson, 20 of 32, 253 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Patrick Mahomes, 24 of 32, 211 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did not throw an interception. Can we move on?
Let me say this real quick. If Bill O'Brien, if Bill O'Brien is not fired after this season,
we can't get a black coach nowhere. But we got all these.
If Bill O'Brien,
Caucasian coaches that should not be where they're at.
If Bill O'Brien don't get fired, y'all understand that DeAndre Hopkins had 14 catches in his game, in his first game with the team? 14 catches. I saw like 8 drops by the Texans receivers on Thursday. And DeAndre by himself had 14 catches. I just, woo! If I'm Deshaun Watson.
That's like getting rid of Khalil Mack, and the Bears had only, 2 sacks? He had 10?
If I'm Deshaun Watson, in the back of my mind, especially after watching what my man D-Hop did over there in Arizona, I would be wishing that I could turn back time and not sign that contract. Honestly.
If I could turn back time.
Honestly.
Wow, that's a bop. If I could find a way. I didn't know you had it in you, Cher. If I could...
You silly. I mean, because I wouldn't have signed that contract. I wouldn't have signed that contract. You got to get me out of there. You got to get me out of here. But
abort.
If Bill O'Brien don't get fired after this season,
they gave them bubblegum cigarettes. They didn't give them real cigarettes for what they gave DeAndre Hopkins away from. Remember the bubblegum cigarettes?
Mm-hmm. I know exactly. The only bright light I could see for them is that David Johnson looked great. Hopefully he can stay healthy. That's the only thing I can say about it.
Seahawks, Falcons. The Seahawks beat the Falcons 38-25. The Seahawks let Russell Wilson do the cooking. The only thing he burned was the Falcons. He wanted to spread the ball around, Wilson said. We wanted to be aggressive in our approach. He had 3 carries for 29 yards on the ground. He dished out throws to 9 receivers, finishing 31 of 35, 322 yards for 4 touchdowns. The man just had a baby, got Sierra on his arm. What else do you want of Russell Wilson?
Life is good.
American dream.
Life is good.
But guess what, Tristan? And Todd Gurley has 8. Ezekiel Elliott has 8. Derek Carr has 6. DeMarco Murray has 2. Tony Romo has 2. Carson Wentz has 2. Dak Prescott has 1. Bobby Wagner has 1. These guys, as of entering the league in 2012, Russell has never got a single MVP vote. These guys have those numbers.
It's disrespectful. Because since he's been in the league, I would say, honestly, 7 years that he's been in the league, he's been a top-tier quarterback. That first year, you could say it was more so the run game, Legion of Boom, you know what I'm saying? Maybe even say the first 2 years. But for the vast majority of his career, he's been a baller. A top 5 QB in the league. To not get one MVP nod? I think maybe it's because he's in Seattle. Maybe that's my only. I can't even say that's logical thinking, but that's the only thing I can think of. Maybe it's because he's playing in Seattle, but one, not one.
He go as he go. I don't understand. We done seen this man come back from deficits we didn't think he was gonna come back
I
from.
just I don't know. I don't know. It shocked me when I heard it. I was just like, he never got one.
Not a vote.
I don't know. But guess what? He on a mission this season. Huh, gonna learn.
The Falcons outgained the Seahawks 506 yards with Julio with 506 yards. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Russell Cage all collecting more than 100 receiving yards. But Atlanta came up short, some would say again. All four times as it tried to convert on fourth down. It was not a promising start to a make or break year for, you talk about Bill O'Brien. We got another coach on the docket. Back to Dan Quinn, make it or break it, who kept
Yeah,
job despite back-to-back losing seasons. He likely
yeah,
must lead them to the playoffs to return in 2021.
absolutely. I fully agree. After having the collapse that you had in that Super Bowl, the Falcons have not recovered. They have not recovered from that. And I kept telling people, everyone knows my feelings about Matt Ryan.
Overrated.
Until he shows me otherwise, this will always be my thing
Oh
about Matt
man,
Ryan.
he'll come through in the dome. He got Todd Gurley now. I was not enthused about that, but hell, who am
He ain't come through in the
I?
dome. He ain't come through in the dome when he had 28-3. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
You
So
are digging the graves tonight. You dig it up. You dig it up. I bet you $2 you'll find a way to still bring up Paul George, even though it's an NFL segment.
I'll find a way. I'll find a way.
The Jets, they lose to the Bills 17-27. In overseeing three consecutive first half touchdown drives, Josh Allen becomes Buffalo's first quarterback to top 300 yards passing in nearly 3+ years. Josh Allen, 33 of 46, 312 yards, two touchdowns. Sam Darnold, 21 of 35, 215 yards, one touchdown. He threw a pick. Why are you praying?
Can someone please tell me how Adam Gase still has a job? Can someone please, for the
That's at
life
least
of
10
me,
coaches you said don't need a job,
for
Tommy.
the life of me, but he's the one. For me, he's the one. He is the one. How are you still a head coach in this league? Fell into a full blown bum.
Vegetable.
This is a guy that had the most scrimmage yards in NFL history. In the history, think of all the great running backs that have come to the NFL. He had the most scrimmage yards in the history of football, and you've made him into a bum. You have made him into a bum. Sam Darnold had a
And
great
you
rookie
didn't
season.
want them.
Great rookie season for Sam Darnold when he first came out with Todd Bowles as his head coach. It was promise. It looked like promise. I said, okay, we seen something with him. He looks like a bust. He looks like a bust. And everyone is saying that he was the offensive guru, the offensive wizard, the offensive genius. You had literally, your whole career is based on the fact that you had arguably the smartest quarterback to ever grace the NFL in Peyton Manning. That's your ticket. That's your claim to fame is that you had the smartest quarterback ever, in my opinion, to ever play football. And everyone's saying that you're supposed to be this offensive genius. Let I know we got to move on, but listen. He went to Miami. They drafted Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill was average at best. Average at best. To the point that they traded him to the Tennessee Titans and even gave Tennessee a $5 million bonus to take his contract. He goes and takes the Tennessee Titans to the AFC Championship game. Adam Gase is the difference here. He's awful. He's terrible. He needs to be
Bill
fired.
Belichick wannabe, you know?
I, I don't even know if we can even give him that credit. I don't even know what to call him. It baffles me. It baffles me that someone like him could still be a head coach in this league for this long between the Dolphins and the Jets, and yet Eric Bieniemy can't get a job, and he out here looking like a mad genius, coming up with all these offensive plays over there in Kansas City. And
And they
Adam
just
Gase,
keep getting Optimus Prime over there. They just keep getting more weapons.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. But we can move on. But that just, I'm not even a Jets fan, but it just stresses me out so much. I can't grasp it. Like, if he lasts this season, everybody got to get fired. Everybody in the Jets got to get fired. If Adam Gase is the coach for
You firing the
2021,
whole team? The GM and
everybody,
everything?
everybody got to go. Everybody got to go.
I
Everybody.
got something else you're not going to understand next. Because this guy I'm about to talk about next, he was drafted before Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. The Bears lose to the Lions 27-23. Mitchell Trubisky missed many targets, sailing some passes high and leaving other throws behind teammates until it mattered most. He perfectly lofted a 27-yard go-ahead touchdown pass into the fingertips of Anthony Miller with a minute 54 remaining in the Chicago Bears. Hold on to beat the Lions. Trubisky, 20 of 36, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns. He got away with this one. Matt Stafford, welcome back. They still need to protect you. Matthew Stafford, 24 of 42, 297 yards, 1 touchdown. He did throw a pick. Honorable mention, Adrian Peterson, 14 carries, 93 yards in his Lions debut.
Look
Just
great.
4 days after signing with the team, he plans to lead the franchise with his play and his words. Shout out to Adrian Peterson.
He look great. You know, God just creates certain people to do certain things, and God specifically made Adrian Peterson to play football. Specifically to play football. Everything about him, God's like, you are going to be a great football player. That's what I made you to be. Awesome. But let me say this: Matt Patricia is another one that gets on my nerves. Why is he still having a job? I don't know if he's gonna make it through this season. Matt Stafford, God bless you. I feel so sorry for you, sir. I feel so
Bill
sorry for you.
O'Brien, Dan Quinn, Adam Gase,
Matt Patricia.
Patrick. That's 4.
Yes. Now, let me go over here to the Bears. I don't know why the Bears people got so excited about this win. Y'all realize that Mitchell Trubisky at a certain point in that game was 8 for 22? 8 for 22 in pass attempts and completion ratio? 8 of 22. He didn't start playing good till the fourth quarter. I'm trying to. You got to fire everybody at the Bears. Y'all trade. It's not the fact that you missed Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. That's not the the comedian that be on
That one
Instagram.
right there.
You know the comedian that be on Instagram that said that's not what behooved me. But what behooved me was what behooved me was y'all traded up and took Mitchell Trubisky instead of Patrick Mahomes. Deshaun Watson just won a national championship. Y'all traded up to the number 2 pick to pick a guy
No.
that was not Deshaun Watson. I, I just, I understand. I don't get. I understand. I'm not in the NFL. I don't get paid to make decisions. I don't get paid to coach. But there's just some things that are just look like common sense. I'm gonna pick a
That was a
guy.
stupid move.
I'm gonna pick a guy that played football for North Carolina who hasn't had a notable player come out of North Carolina since Julius Peppers over a guy that just won the national championship and went to back national championships and that should have won the Heisman. I'm going to pick someone. I'm going to trade up and pick Mitchell Trubisky over Deshaun Watson? Could you imagine?
I
Imagine
don't know.
Deshaun Watson having that kind of offense that Nagy puts up. It's not that the offensive scheme that Matt Nagy puts up in Chicago is bad. It's just that Mitchell Trubisky isn't good. That's the problem. So
Hey, I mean, I think you have fun with that one. Let's move on. The Packers beat the Vikings 43-34. Aaron Rodgers took full advantage of the young cornerbacks and empty building in Minnesota. Begins his 13th season as Green Bay starting QB. He was 32-44, 364 yards. He had four of them things, four touchdowns. Devontae Adams thrived all over the field with a franchise record tying 14 catches for 156 yards and two touchdowns. Kirk Cousins, he was there. 19 to 25, 259 yards, two touchdowns. He did throw a pick. Dalvin Cooks, 12 carries, 50 yards, two touchdowns. Can we move on?
Aaron Rodgers is going to scorch the earth.
How mad you think it is? How mad you think he is that they already got his predecessor with no freaking? They gave him no help.
You not only didn't give him any help. Not only did you not give him any help, you traded back into the first round and drafted a quarterback. You drafted a quarterback when you had Aaron Rodgers.
The decisions these people are making.
He listen. He gonna ball out every week, and then the day after the game when he balls out, he's gonna walk through the Packers facility for practice with the middle finger just up as he's walking through, just sticking the middle finger up at everybody. Because you drafted a QB in the first round when I'm still here and I'm still balling. Yeah, watch me
But
work.
that's what Green Bay does. Look
Watch me work.
how he got his job.
You're right.
Brett Favre was like they kicked Brett Favre out the door.
It's disrespectful. It's
They
disrespectful.
like to create predecessors before their time, which
It's
is sending mixed
disrespectful.
messages because Green Bay is still with Aaron Rodgers, they are still a Super Bowl contender. You
But
give
it's
away
like,
Jordy
did y'all
Nelson,
forget? Did y'all forget that they were in the NFC Championship last year? They were in the NFC title game.
and he almost got them in there off of one leg the year before. He came back. He was hurt, came back. The decisions, Tristan. More decisions. This looks like a good one, maybe. The Dolphins lose to the Patriots 11-21. A new era has begun. Brady is gone. Cam Newton, number one, changing the culture in New England. All in one suit. He actually looked all right last week. I give him that one. The yellow was popping. Anyway, the new look Patriots with the fire shoes, whatever that was, and he could look kind of nice. The new look Patriots are now getting some time to run. Tristan, they becoming a running team now. Courtesy of Cam. Cam 15 to 19, 155 yards. He did not throw a touchdown. He did not throw an interception. He had though 15 carries, 75 yards, and his touchdowns that he did score, he scored running them. His 75 yards were the most by a Patriots quarterback since Steve Grogan had 81 in 1977. Sony Michel, he's, where am I at here? Oh, I'm here. Anyway, Sony Michel helped him out tremendously. He added a touchdown for New England, which had 217 of his 357 yards on the ground. If you care. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 20 of 30, 191 yards. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but it wouldn't be Ryan Fitzpatrick if he didn't throw three picks.
I'm ready. I'm ready to
How do
see
you feel
Tua.
about New England? New England. Emphasis on the new.
New England is definitely new. It's definitely new. Cam looked great. I'm sure the offense is going to keep developing. People were worried because they were like,
Run
well,
about.
yep. Shout out to that tribute. I think people were really concerned because they're like, well, Cam ran the ball 15 times. That's not going to keep happening. I think as the offense keeps developing, he gets more comfortable with his guys. You'll see a little more of a balanced game, and maybe not Cam running 15 times a game, running the football. So that'll be okay. But really glad that he had such a good showing in his first game back because he's just been so disrespected for over a year now. It's just the disrespect has been amazing. Um,
So I'm glad to see Cam Newton back in the fold. But as far as like Miami, I'm ready to. I think maybe 3 4 games in, we're going to see Tua taking over as a starter over from Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think it's going to be time.
Speaking of new looks, a new look you might actually appreciate if this continues to be the look. In new eras, we go down 95 for a team with no name. But if they continue to play like this, maybe they'll have a name that says winner in their immediate future, an indication of a change. They will make a name and they will return to a winning culture. Dwayne Haskins Jr., 17 to 31, 178 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. The Washington Red. Ooh, gotta get it out of my system. Gotta get it out of. I'm,
I
if
hear
I
you.
offended anybody, I'm sorry, but I've been a skin fan how many years? Gotta get it out of my system.
Hey, they still messing it up. They still messing up on
WFTPT,
TV.
I can't even say it anymore, but I can't say HTTR. But the Washington Football Club, 27 to 17, they beat the Eagles. If you're looking for an NFC battle, do we even have those anymore? But anyways, Carson Wentz, 24 42, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks. That Washington D gets 8 sacks on him. Peyton Barber ran for 2 touchdowns, and Dwayne rallied DC from a 17-point deficit. Punishing defense with an opportunistic offense, Tristan. Ron Rivera lived up to his Riverboat Ron nickname earned in his 9 seasons with Carolina. In his first game after finding out he has a form of skin cancer, wishing him the best, Rivera went for it on 4th and 1 from the Eagles' 5. The score tied midway through the fourth. I saw Dwayne Haskins stay in the pocket. I saw him be poised. I saw the 17-point deficit didn't get anybody unraveled. What I did see is about what I did see is a team that is a second half team, and that is the problem. You can do whatever you want in the first quarter. How you gonna come back that second quarter? And if we keep this going, we have a Washington Football Club that can play 4 quarters and then can stand the test of time of a game and can endure it. And we will see deficits not be as big. We can actually see them hold on to a lead maybe if they get one. I thought it was enlightening, this performance.
I was definitely encouraged. I was still coming from church at the time, so I wasn't able to grasp it in person as much. But so many people were hitting me up talking about the first half, and we're talking about, oh, same old team. Dwayne ain't the guy. I knew he was struggling. I think at one point he was like 3 of 12, and he was struggling a little bit. There were two big things. No, three big things that I took away from the game that gave me such encouragement about moving forward. One, the fact, yes, like you said, they are a second half. They look like they can be a second half team, which has always been the damage for this football team is that they don't know how to finish games. Two, I think the defense, specifically that defensive line, is a lot more nightmarish than we thought it was. I think that defense can wreak a lot more havoc than people thought they could. I was saying that they could be a top 10 defense. They could push to be top 5, top 3 even
Chase
if they
Young
play
is an
that way.
excellent compliment to Ryan Kerrigan.
And to Montez Sweat, and the fact that and it was so fitting that the fact that all three of them had at least 1 sack. It was so fitting for that because that's really our three main pass rushers. So I was encouraged by that. The third thing and probably the most important thing that I was encouraged by was the fact that they went into halftime and because Ron Rivera was getting the IV, Dwayne Haskins was the one that gave the halftime speech to the team. And then you come back in the second half and you basically put the team on your back and say, I got you. Let's try and win this thing. Like that right there, the maturity, the leadership, that's why he was voted as captain for this season. Because of things like that. And the fact that it was Dwayne Haskins, knowing that he struggled, yet volunteered to talk to the team and rally his guys and then come out the second half and play the way he played. I am very encouraged by the future of this team. I think they need to address the wide receiver position. I think they that was made perfectly clear watching Sunday. Um, let's see what Troy Apke in that free safety position. They may have to find something for that if he's not He kind of struggled a little bit, so we got to see about that. But I'm very encouraged. And even Ron Rivera said that with the offensive system, it's going to take a while before they really get this thing. He's like, we might not even experience the fullness of this system until next season. And I'm glad he said it because it puts people back in perspective of how we need to look at this team. We can't look at the wins and losses of this team. We got to look at how they play. We got to look at how close they keep the games. We have to look at that stuff. We can't look at their record. We got to look at what they're actually doing on the field. And like I said, so far for me, based on what I've seen, I'm excited about the future.
Las Vegas Raiders beat the Panthers, Carolina Panthers, who are new, 34-30. Derek Carr, 22 of 32 to 39 yards, one touchdown. Josh Jacobs, 25 carries, 93 yards, three touchdowns. In his Panthers debut, Teddy Bridgewater, 22 of 34. We talk about comebacks, 22 of 34, 270 yards, one touchdown. He did not throw a pick. Christian McCaffrey, he still does his thing, 23 yards, 23 carries, 96 yards, two touchdowns. Can we move on?
Yeah, we can. Kudos to John Gruden. All of us that were trashing him, including myself, he's making us look like
He really
looking like
did.
we got to eat crow. Looking like we
The
got to eat
draft
crow.
picks, I figured when I didn't hear nothing about them draft picks, John Gruden did his thing for you.
I got it. I can
But if
admit when I'm wrong. I can
but
admit
if
when I'm
those
wrong.
draft picks were trash,
Oh, you know I would have been ready, but I can admit when I'm wrong, and I'm glad that I'm glad that I'm wrong. My dad is a big Raiders fan. I'm glad that I'm wrong. It looks like that team's going in the right direction.
Minshew, Gardner Minshew, the second. Gotta say it properly, okay? 19 of 20, 173 yards, three touchdowns. He did not throw any picks. The Jaguars beat the Colts 27 to 20. They stunned the Colts in the season opener and spoiled Philip Rivers' debut. This not bad for a team that was supposedly giving up on the season before it even played it down. The Jaguars entered week one as the NFL's biggest home underdogs, with talks of tanking being the most prevalent preseason topic surrounding the revamped team. It led to tempered expectations that may have contributed to a sparse, coward, cowardy to a sparse crowd. Only 14,000 of 16,800 tickets available were distributed for the league's lone game played with fans in the stands on Sunday. Philip, Philip Rivers, because I don't care where he is, I still gonna say his name like that. 36 to 40, 36 to 46. We all know what he does. 363 yards, one touchdown. He threw two picks. He entered the game with 20 touchdown passes and just one interception against Jacksonville since 2010.
I'm interested. I still think the Jaguars are going to be awful, but I'm happy for Gardner Minshew balling out the way he did. Philip, we got to see how the rest of the season goes for Philip Rivers, but it looked like it's going to look like how it looked last season with the Chargers. And if that's the case, then Philip needs to start thinking about hanging this thing up.
Back up 95. The story's still the same. Tristan is always about Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. The Browns lose tragically to the Ravens 38 to 6. Lamar Jackson 20 of 25, 276 yards, 275 yards, three touchdowns. He had seven carries for 45 yards on the ground. The COVID-19 pandemic kept the seats empty and the play was sloppy following a summer without any games. That hardly mattered to Jackson, who looked every bit as good, maybe even better, than he did in 2019, while helping Baltimore compile an NFL best 14-2 record. The Browns were incapable of stopping him, Tristan. As a result, Cleveland still hasn't opened with a victory since 2004. Baker Mayfield, 21 to 39, 189 yards, one touchdown, one interception. Odell Beckham Jr., if you was looking for him with all that stuff we was talking about before the season, three receptions, 22 yards. Sounds about right.
First of all, for Lamar Jackson, as we say, not bad for a running back. Lamar is looking awesome, looking like he looked like he was in midseason form already. I'm excited to see what he does for the season. The Ravens are built to win a chip. They got to go through Kansas City, but they're built to win a chip for sure. It looked like he improved again in his passing. I'm just so happy for Lamar Jackson and that whole squad, man.
Whoop,
Because
whoop. I like he doesn't downplay any question you answer him. He's not.
exactly he takes everything on, and I've been such a fan of him since his days at Louisville. I'm so happy to see what he's doing. As far as for the Browns, they need to figure that out. Is
How
Odell the guy?
long do they
Is
got?
Odell going to be the guy, or do you need to ship him out? Is Baker the guy, or do you need to ship him out? Now I'm looking at the score. Look like the Browns are looking good right now.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield's looking pretty decent. But again, I am going to reserve myself on that because they are playing the Bengals. So I'm going to reserve my whole thought process on that. But we're going to see how this Browns team looks this year. For Baker, this is an important year because if he doesn't look like he's ascending, they're going to look for somebody else at that quarterback position. And everybody said that he was just kind of overrated being a part of Oklahoma. And right now he's proving them right. So he needs to get that together. And I think Odell needs to go. I don't think that atmosphere fits Odell, and I don't know. I'm not sure on that. But it could change. It's only one game.
The Chargers beat the Bengals. Speaking of the Bengals, 16-13. Joe Burrows, Heisman winner, ran 23 yards. Mr. Heisman winner himself ran 23 yards for a touchdown. But Chargers rallied 16-13 over Bengals. A last-minute dramatic win was put in range, yet like so many, Burrows threw an interception on a shovel pass to thwart one late scoring chance, and he watched as Randy Bullock missed a 31-yard field goal. Bullock's calf cramped with 2 seconds left, clinching Chargers win, leaving Burrows like every other Cincinnati quarterback wondering what the hell happened. Burrows, 23-26, 193 yards, 0 touchdowns, threw a pick. Tyrod Taylor, 16-30, 208 yards, no touchdowns, no picks.
I don't know what the Chargers are. They have no identity. The identity left with Philip Rivers. I have no idea what the Chargers are. And if that's their showing, I'm nervous as hell for the Chargers and Anthony Lynn. And I love Anthony Lynn as a coach, but I don't know what they are. So we're going to see. Tyrod Taylor might lose that job, and they might bring in the kid, Justin Herbert. We'll see what happens. As far as the Bengals, Joe Burrow struggled, as all rookies do, rookie quarterbacks do, but he actually
Yep.
showed promise also. As the game kept going, he showed a lot of promise. I think the Bengals, they have the same issue that they had last year. They can't protect them. They have
Yeah.
an issue with that offensive line. He has weapons. AJ Green, John Ross, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. He has weapons. But that offensive line is paper mache. It is paper mache. And until they can answer that offensive line issue, whoever you put at the quarterback position is going to struggle. So um, I'm looking at Zach Taylor, the head coach. Let's see how long he lasts. Let's see what he does. But that offensive line gotta get corrected.
That's a fifth coach that you done said gotta go.
Listen, if we had a segment on coaches alone, I give you a list.
Well, another new era. We got so many new people coming in and changing the script. The beginning of another era. Brady and Tampa Bay. The Saints beat the Buccaneers 34-23. Tom Brady 23-36, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Drew Brees and Tom Brady, the two leading passers in the NFL history, couldn't muster vintage performances in first NFL game featuring two starting quarterbacks in their 40s. But while Bucks but while Breeze avoided game turning mishaps with an offense he's led since 2006, Brady suffered some costly cross ups with his new team. Rob Gronkowski, 2 receptions, because it's a new era for him too. 11 yards, 2 receptions, 11 yards. Leonard Fournette, it's a whole new thing going on over here. 1 reception, 14 yards. We even saw LaShawn McCoy. 1 reception, 2 yards. Drew Brees. It was breezy. 18-30, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I want
Championship.
I want people to relax. I want people to relax about the Bucks. And when I mean relax, I mean don't panic. Everybody was talking about, oh, is Tom Brady washed? He didn't look great. Listen, what I watched, what I saw from the Buccaneers is we need more time to play together in real speed. People gotta understand. There were no mini camp, no OTAs. You just had training camp, learning a whole new offensive scheme, learning a whole new set of players. For a guy that's been playing in one system, one way for 20 years, he's learning something completely new. What I saw was not a quarterback that looked washed. What I saw was a guy that is still learning his team. That's what
He
I saw.
wasn't washed last year. If we look at his stats alone, cannot be compiled to talk about Tom Brady last year. He didn't have any help. That
Exactly. So for me, I'm saying let's wait maybe 3, 4 games before we can judge what this is. I'm more concerned about the Saints than I am about the Buccaneers because the mistakes that were happening for the Bucks, for the Saints to not the score should have been worse than what it was. I'm more concerned about the Saints, especially with Mike Thomas now being out for several weeks because of that high
yeah,
ankle sprain.
high ankle sprain.
I am more concerned about the Saints than the Buccaneers.
The Cardinals beat the 49ers 24-20. DeAndre Hopkins had a career high 14 catches, 151 yards. He got it. He never had it. But hey, Arizona's looking young, looking pretty, and they still got Larry Fitzgerald turning back the hands of time. Kyler Murray, congratulations.
I ain't got nothing to say. You said it for
My
me.
second year, and I get DeAndre Hopkins.
You said it for you said it. I ain't got nothing to say. You said it for me. 14 catches for 150 yards.
What finger is he giving Houston now?
Oh, you already know.
The
Oh,
index?
you already know. you you already know what finger it is that he giving them good Texans. 14 catches for 150 yards. I don't even know if the Texans receivers have 14 catches combined on Thursday.
I can look that up for you. You feel me? Because well, not really, because I didn't know any Texas offense at all. Because the only thing you want to talk about in Houston, they were off the top of my tongue. I'm missing it, but Chris Collinsworth was trying to praise that receiver so bad. He is not DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sorry. But anyways, the trade.
Oh.
Yes, he is not him. I'm sorry, but anyways, the Cowboys lose to the Rams, 17-20. Dak Prescott. Before we get into any numbers, for anybody that has anything to say about mental health, about losing someone important to you, what this man has gone through on and continues to play for a team that devalues him. He lost his brother. It's a whole pandemic. If you had something to say about the courage that he had to even speak on it, what is wrong with humanity in America anymore?
Yeah.
Kudos to him. But anyways, Dak Prescott, 25-39, 266 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 carries, 30 yards on the ground. He managed 3 points in his 6 drives in second half. Ezekiel Elliott, 22. Are you loving the new tattoo? Anyways, 22 carries, 96 yards, 1 touchdown. He's cool. You don't like his nice little Ezekiel Elliott, man. He's a wildflower.
Holla at me when you're 50, Zeke. Holla at me when you're 50.
How is that gonna look on his stomach when he's 50? Oh my gosh. Anyways, Malcolm Brown rushed for a career high 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Jared Goff passed for 275 yards, 20 and 31, 0 touchdowns. He did throw a pick. The opening of the Rams opener, Stan Kroenke's new $5 billion new stadium project was a historic night for Los Angeles area. One that should have been more festive. Of course, the coronavirus says Rams fans could not come christen the place because, we can't go nowhere now. But anyways, it is scheduled to host the next season's Super Bowl, the 2023 College Football Championship, and the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. Nice little stadium.
The same. It looks beautiful.
Ben Roethlisberger, 21 to 32, 229 yards. The Steelers beat the Giants 26 to 16. And rounding it out, Tristan, because we are done. The Titans beat the Broncos 16 to 14. Derrick Henry, that's nothing new. 31 carries, 116 yards. Your new favorite quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, 29 to 43, 249 yards, two touchdowns.
Vic Fangio. That's coach number 6. The Broncos coach. Vic
Why
Fangio.
does he have a
You on the
job?
clock. You on the clock, fella. You on the clock. Because that's a good young team. It's a good young team. That the Broncos have a good young team. Vic Fangio is on the clock.
Well, that's it. That's all. We're done. Next week, got to talk about some Osaka. We're looking like we're going to get some college football.
Shout out to the Big Ten.
We're going to look like we're getting some college football. So we will talk about that next week. 3 more episodes to 97. And when you see us next Thursday, we're still working on this time thing. My schedule is crazy. I be trying. It's really my fault because y'all know damn well how I feel about not putting no content out there. I'm depressed every week. But I will get my act together. But when you see me, I should have my act together because next time you see me, I'll be 32. So anyway,
Hey.
magic year. Can you believe it? Hopefully it's magical.
It will.
I said all the syllables. But anyway, episode 97, 3 more episodes. And I'm saying, like I say it every week, I don't care if it don't rhyme, it's still mine. I'm Mikkel, like Kevin McHale. Please go. If you missed this little party, the shindig, this man to my right, because he's on the right of the screen. I can't point to you because you're not at my right, but I did point, you feel me? Go judge your mother, America. But anyway, this man next to me has worked so diligently on putting us on every platform available. I told you he's the star because I couldn't do it. So, anyways, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes. Follow us on YouTube. Watch this episode if you miss it. Put your kids in front of the television. This was a party. Next
Yep.
week, Tristan. Enjoy. I don't know what time it is.
It's like 9:23.
Yes! That's what I was going for. 30, 9:30. All right. At 9:30, we did it. I miss you, brother.
Miss you too.
See you next week.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.